India. This tale is a garland strung from many flowers, Vedic hymns, village songs, star maps, half-remembered lullabies, and the hush between two heartbeats. It is neither scripture nor history, but a story breathing in the cave of your ear. Hear it as you would hear night rain on parched earth, gratefully, not literally. If any verse contradicts the executrudi you cherish, lay it aside like an ill-fitting sandal. If it kindles love for the ash-clad Lord, carry it like a lamp into the winds of the world. In the age before the first kalpa, when the syllable Om lay folded like a lotus bud within the throat of the unmanifest, there was neither day nor night, only a single dusk the color of cooled molten gold. Upon that dusk rested a mountain, no larger than a mustard seed, yet heavier than every future sorrow combined. The mountain waited, for waiting was its only grammar. From the eastern rim of the dusk arose a breath, male on the right side, female on the left. Between them coiled a serpent of unsounded silence. The breath trembled once, and the tremor became a man whose hair was the darkness between stars, whose skin the ash of burnt-up time. He had no name, yet the void addressed him as Rudra, the howler at the gates. Opposite him, the dusk exhaled a girl fashioned from the same breath, yet shaped otherwise. Her limbs were the months of the year, her eyes the two equinoxes, her voice the interval between lightning and thunder. She too had no name, but the rustle of distant leaves called her Shakti, the able one. Where her foot touched the mustard seed mountain, it grew, becoming Kailāsa, the moving stillness. Rudra leaned upon his staff, cut from the tree of no return. Shakti carried a lamp fed by the fat of extinguished galaxies. They looked across the infant mountain and recognized in one another the same loneliness that had birthed the cosmos. The recognition was a bridge, the bridge a story. "Shall we play?" Shakti asked. Her words were not yet Sanskrit, but the raw clay from which languages would be wheel thrown. Rudra nodded, and the nod became the first winter. He plucked a hair from his matted locks. It became a deer that leapt into the forest of unborn philosophies. She loosened an anklet. It became a river that learned to flow uphill to remember its source. They played until play matured into ritual. Ritual demanded a witness, so Rudra opened the eye in his forehead. The eye did not burn, it wept. Each tear striking the mountain became a crystal linga. Thus were the first shrines established, though pilgrims were still centuries away from inventing feet. Shakti gathered the tears, strung them into a garland, and hung it across the void. The garland became the Milky Way, a necklace of forgotten prayers. She stepped upon its curve and walked until walking became dancing, a gentle sway that taught the void the rhythm of heartbeats. Rudra watched, and desire, though desire was still unnamed, stirred within him like a sleeping volcano tasting dawn. He set down his staff. It took root and became the axis upon which the cosmos would revolve. He stepped into the dance, and the dance folded into a circle, the circle into a cave, the cave into a womb, the womb into a promise. Within that promise they embraced, and the embrace was a conversation. "I am the absence that seeks form," he whispered. "I am the form that seeks absence," she answered. Between absence and form, a child stirred not flesh but the idea of flesh, the first poem that would one day crave lips to utter it. Yet the child refused easy birth. He demanded a guardian. From the sweat of their dancing, Rudra shaped a boy with an elephant's head and the belly of a laughing moon. The boy bowed, saying, I shall stand at the threshold and question every entrance until it remembers it is also an exit. Thus Ganapati was conceived, though mothers and fathers were still roles the cosmos had not yet learned to play. Time, hearing its own name for the first time, grew self-conscious and split into three streams: past, future, and the heartbeat between. The past became a forest where hermits practiced remembering, the future, a battlefield where prophets practiced forgetting, the heartbeat, a girl child who would one day be called Parvati, she of the mountain as body, though now she was only the mountain's dream of walking. Rudra, sensing the split, grew still. Stillness was his native tongue, yet now it felt like exile. He withdrew to the summit of Kailāsa, sat beneath the tree of no return, and closed every eye but the one that sees within. The cosmos, deprived of his gaze, began to blink erratically, stars stuttered, rivers ran backward. Thus began the first austerity. Shakti, left holding the dance, twirled faster until twirling became flight. She flew to the edge of the universe, found it made of mirrors facing inward, and smashed them with her lamp. Each shard became a world, each world a story, each story a wound that would one day demand healing. The healing, she knew, would be named love. Love, still embryonic, required a womb. Shakti entered the hollow of her own ankle and emerged as a girl of 9 harvests, her skin the dusk of late autumn, her voice the hush between flute notes. She walked toward Kailāsa, where Rudra sat entombed in stillness. Every footstep sprouted a season, every season a song. She found him seated like a word that had forgotten how to be spoken. She sat opposite him, assumed the same posture, and mirrored his silence. Silence between two beings became a third being, a child of negation who closed its eyes and saw the universe backwards. The child opened its mouth, out flew a bird made of ash. The bird circled them thrice, then perched upon Rudra's knee, saying without speaking, "Wake, for waking is the only pilgrimage." Rudra stirred. He opened the eye in his forehead. It beheld the girl who was Shakti yet wore the mask of mountain daughter and recognized in her the original dance. He spoke, and his voice was the sound of glaciers learning to sigh. "Woman of 9 harvests, what boon do you seek?" She answered. "I seek the boon of seeking you until seeking and you become synonyms." Thus began the courtship that predated courtship, a conversation in glances, a negotiation of silences. She brought him flowers that had not yet learned to bloom. He offered her ashes that had not yet forgotten to burn. Exchange became orbit, orbit, gravity, gravity, the first kiss that was not of lips but of atmospheres. Yet the kiss was incomplete. Rudra withdrew again, this time into absence, a country whose currency was forgetting. He traveled it until he forgot his own name, and forgetting became a river that carried him to the city of the dead. There he sat, reading the stories of his own deaths. Each ended with the same sentence, "to be continued." Scarred, he returned. Return was a spiral, not a line. He arrived at Kailāsa to find Parvati, no longer Shakti, yet not other than Shakti, standing upon one toe beneath the bodhi tree, practicing the austerity of waiting. He watched until watching became participation, participation, union, union, the first marriage that was not of bodies but of horizons. The marriage was celebrated by all beings who would ever exist. VI letter 1E63 letter 1E47U transformed himself into a Brahmin priest. Brahma kept time by counting his own blinks. Garlands were exchanged, his of human skulls, representing endings, hers of jasmine, representing beginnings. Thus the wedding vowed to encompass both, like a river that flows forward and backward simultaneously. When the final vow was uttered, the cosmos exhaled. The couple retired to a cave upon Kailāsa. Inside, silence practiced conversation. They spoke without words. He, "I am the absence that seeks form." She, "I am the form that seeks absence." Between absence and form, a child stirred, the first poem that would one day crave lips to utter it. Meanwhile, the universe required management. Devas and asuras churned the ocean of milk, seeking immortality but finding poison. The poison, hala hala, rose in a cloud that threatened to turn history into a palindrome. The Devas fled to Kailāsa, carrying the poison in a begging bowl. Rudra emerged. He beheld the poison, a liquid night denser than regret. Without hesitation, he lifted it to his lips. Parvati, appearing at the cave's mouth, pressed her palm to his throat, sealing the poison there. His neck turned blue, the color of twilight caught between yes and no. The poison lived, teaching that the only antidote to toxicity is to house it, name it, and never let it pretend it is alone. Satisfied, Rudra returned to the cave. He and Parvati sat knee to knee, and the space between them became a classroom where the cosmos learned the alphabet of intimacy. Years passed, or what men call years. Their children grew, Kartikya, the general of gods, Ganapati, the remover of obstacles, Asakasundari, the girl who would invent stories to keep loneliness company, and Andhaka, the dark one, who would mistake light for possession and be pierced by his father's trident. Each child left home, carrying a portion of parental silence. Rudra and Parvati, now lord and lady of the world, taught the universe how to be a marriage, how to argue without severing, how to forgive without forgetting, how to love without owning. One evening, Parvati asked, "Tell me, blue-throated one, what resides beyond the beyond?" Rudra replied, "Beyond the beyond is the same as before the before, a single mustard seed waiting for a mountain to grow." He opened his palm. In it lay the original seed, unchanged despite eons. She took it, pressed it to her heart, and the seed became a star that rose within her, illuminating the cave from inside. Thus illuminated, they danced. The dance was the lascia of creation, gentle, circular, feminine. Each footstep became a galaxy, each gesture a scripture yet to be interpreted. They stood still, forehead to forehead, breathing the same breath. From the corner of the cave, the ash of burnt-up time collected itself into a figure, Nandan the bull, white as the silence between thunderclaps. He knelt, offering his back as seat, footstool, and friend. Rudra stroked the bull's brow, the bull's eyes closed, and in that closure the universe found its first home. Rudra rose, gathered his trident, and stepped out of the cave. Parvati walked beside him. Together they descended Kailāsa, entering the world of mortals, where every footstep would become a legend, every glance a scripture. They walked through kingdoms that would one day bear great names. Wherever they paused, a temple sprouted, a linga of stone, a yantra of space. Each temple was a letter in an alphabet that spelled remember. Devotees came, carrying lamps of ghee and hearts of longing. They left with pockets full of ash, reminders that everything removable is removed, yet the remover remains. Centuries passed. The blue throat became a beacon for wanderers lost in self-doubt. The moon upon the brow became a calendar for farmers. The drum letter 1E0D became the heartbeat of every song that sought to outrun silence. In the shadow of Kailāsa, a girl was born who would be called Avani, Earth. Her story, repeated, became the human story, the search for the blue-throated one who swallows poison so that we may taste sweetness. Avani, in her final incarnation, climbed Kailāsa. The climb took 90 years. At the summit, she found not a god, but a man seated upon a stone, his throat blue, his palms open. She placed her lamp in his hands. It became a star that rose into the sky, becoming the pole star. Avani lay down upon the stone and dissolved into ash. The wind carried her to Rudra's hair, teaching that every pilgrimage ends as pollen on the Lord's body. Rudra opened his eyes. He beheld the world, cities of glass, hearts of hunger. He saw, too, the invisible temples within each chest where lamps of longing flickered. He raised the letter 1E0D-MRU, the drum spoke, remember. He lowered it, silence answered, forgive. Between remember and forgive, the universe balanced. Thus ends the tale, though ending is only another name for beginning in disguise. Rudra still sits upon Kailāsa, Parvati beside him. The snow still falls upward when no one is watching. The mustard seed still waits. The dance still continues. And you, listener, reader, watcher, carry this tale like a lamp into the tunnels of your days. When the oil runs low, remember the blue throat that drank darkness. When the path grows crooked, remember the mountain that grew from a seed of waiting. When words fail, remember the first silence that spoke the world. Now, if your heart has room, do the small rituals of the digital age, like to tell the algorithm that stories of ash and starlight still matter. Share to pass the lamp to another wanderer. Subscribe to meet again, wherever gods and mortals gather. For this channel believes that every pixel can be a pilgrimage, every comment a mantra. Ring the bell, and the bell becomes the letter 1E0D-MRU, the letter 1E0D-MRU, a heartbeat, the heartbeat, a reminder that the story is yours to continue. Until we meet again, carry the ash, guard the flame, walk the spiral. May your neck learn to hold the poison of the world without turning bitter. May your brow wear the moon as a reminder that even broken things can reflect light. Ena M, a letter 1E25 Sivaya, a syllable for every step, a step for every syllable, until step and syllable become the same silence from which this tale emerged and into which it returns.